Joining us on Chamber Amplified now, Jeff Hall of HTI, Hall Trucking Express. Jeff, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, happy to be here, Doug. Thanks for the invite.
So your daughter volunteered you as tribute for this podcast. What we would like to start doing is sort of a day in the life, just kind of get a slice of life of our different businesses in the community. And I wanted to start off in trucking and logistics. And Taylor said, I know just the guy, and then volunteered you to do it. So I'm sure you're happy for her to do that for you.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're going to talk about all things HTI, all things trucking today, but let's start off with the easy things. Let's just get your job description and what you do at HTI.
Oh, well, that's easy, Doug. I do whatever needs to be done. I'm the final firewall, if you will, from changing motor oil to changing tires to helping with the dispatch, taking care of the financial. And I am right there for all of it.
So yeah, involved in every aspect of the business, as most owners are, which I would imagine means your day starts pretty early. What time are we starting our day these days, Jeff?
Well, my day is a 24/7, 365 days a year. So I'm truly on call 24/7.
That's fair, and there's a lot of. I mean, you've got to be prepared for just about anything with your drivers out on the road. So that you don't put your phone on silent, is what I'm hearing.
That's correct. Yeah.
So typical day though. What's the first thing you deal with when you get up in the morning?
Two things, especially with fuel the way it is. I always check our money at the bank because we've had people get into our money that they shouldn't have, and we've had to put some precautionary things in play for us there. So I make sure that nothing is wrong with our money. And then I'm always checking the price of fuel. So fuel's gone up $2 a gallon in the last 5 or 6 weeks because of Iran. I get that and I accept that, but you got to find out where you can buy it the cheapest because it's our number 2 cost.
Yeah. And actually, we'll dig into that in a little bit here because I want to talk about the challenges that the industry faces. Obviously, that's one of them. So we'll come back to it. But let's just walk through your typical day. You do that. You're in the office. What does a typical Monday look like for you?
Well, I would check with our operations and see if there were any issues over the weekend that I was not made aware of. And if there weren't, then we had a good weekend. And what are our any issues that are in front of us that we got to look at today and try to be proactive with those as well. Like this morning, we had one of our trucks in New York went in to deliver. They were supposed to have had a reload for us, and we get there and they don't have a reload. So now you weren't planning to try to find a load from New York back to Ohio. So we struggled and our operations team got the load for the truck to come back. But that was the first hiccup that we had today.
And that's probably not something a lot of people think about when it comes to logistics. They just think about the trucks going somewhere and offloading. But as you're moving those trucks to bring them back to Ohio or something, if there's nothing on board, you're losing money then.
Oh, yeah, big time. Yeah, whether the truck's empty or loaded costs the same amount to move, same cost per mile, whether you're loaded or empty for the most part.
Is that something that people probably don't? What are the things people don't understand about the industry? I have to imagine that's up there. But what else do you think the general public doesn't understand about transportation and logistics?
I would think the hours of service. Like for you, Doug, if you got up at 8 o'clock and you decided you wanted to put a double shift in, you could. You don't have to ask anybody. You just do it and everything's fine. Mm-hmm. For us, our drivers can work 11 hours and they've got to be done. And if something happens, there's an accident on the highway and it slows your drive time down, or you get held up at a shipper or a receiver for 2 or 3 hours, that goes against some of your drive time, and you can't go. You're now shut down. So it's hard to really be detailed in, I'm going to be there at 8 o'clock. They'll have me empty at 8:15. I can now drive 20 minutes to where I need to go to pick up my return load. In 15 minutes, they'll have me loaded and I'm gone. That's just not how it works in our industry. So we show up, we've just done our 11 hours worth of work to get to the customer to be there on time. And a lot of times they're not even at work yet. So we're waiting for them to show up. We don't get paid for that. And it's going against our time to be able to get back out of there and head back home. So I don't know that most people realize that we are that controlled on what we can and cannot do. And the DOT, Department of Transportation, issues that come along. If you work 1 minute more than your 11 hours, you can be fined for that.
Yeah, let's get into that because, as we mentioned, we wanted to talk about the biggest challenges that you face as an industry. One, obviously, gas prices, as you already talked about, but two, just the regulations. And it's not just the state; it's not just the federal government. There are regulations coming from all sorts of agencies and everything. It's one thing for the public maybe to not understand what you face, but do you feel like the people who are regulating you understand the challenges that you're facing?
And it used to be, Doug, years ago when I first got started, which was over 40 years ago, the Department of Transportation was your partner. We got started, they came, they helped us, they guided us through different things. And then we were somewhat on our own. But it's changed from back around 2008 when we had financial pressures here in America. One of our drivers got stopped by the DOT, and the driver asked, why do you guys keep pulling our trucks over? We didn't have any issues. They said, we were told if we don't start or step up law enforcement or start bringing in some monetary financial money coming in, we are at risk of losing our jobs. So they got put against us, and our industry is a moving target. So if we go from Ohio to Massachusetts, we're going through Pennsylvania, New York, Connecticut, into Massachusetts. Those 4 states, each of them have some type of different regulation. And years ago, back in the 80s, the state of Connecticut, so in our trucks, if we did not have white sheets in our trucks, they would fine us. That we've always been the financial rewards for different states because they know that a trucking company from Ohio is not going to come back to Massachusetts for $100 fine. They're just pay the fine and keep going. And it's been like that for a long time. Breaks my heart that that's what it's turned into, us against them, and they get a financial reward and get their retirement off of hard men and women out there busting their humps, going through traffic setups, speed traps. In fact, last week, one of our drivers got stopped in Connecticut. You got 45 speed limit, then it goes right into 55 and then 65, and then it drops right back down to 45. That's about a 15-mile range. That's up, down, up, down, up, down, and they will fine you. And they told driver last week, until your truck trailer is past when the sign says 55, you need to be at 45 until that whole truck and trailer is past that sign. We're telling you this now because we're giving you a warning. We're going to start fining you for it.
This
last week
sounds amazing to have to deal with for you and your drivers.
It's not amazing, Doug. It's disheartening.
That was a sarcastic amazing.
Yeah, but it's disheartening that that's what happens to hardworking men and women away from their families a day or 2 or 3 at a time, to be scolded like that for just doing their job.
I got to come back to it because it piqued my interest. And what is the possible reason for the white sheet that you have to have in Connecticut?
Financial reward.
There's no. So I don't want to make it sound like you aren't concerned about safety, which obviously that's what the agencies are supposed to be doing, whether or not they are, or if they're extracting money. But you guys do focus a lot on safety. Tell us about the things that, what are your big concerns when it comes to safety in your industry, and how do you guys address it?
Well, safety, we don't have a lot of issues with safety, Doug. In 2010, I made a decision to switch all of our trucks and all of our trailers to disc brakes. Most people weren't even aware of disc brakes. So from 2011 to today, that's been 15 years. We've not had a rear end accident since we've done that.
That's amazing, and that actually speaks to technology changes in the industry.
Mhm.
When
Yeah.
did the disc brakes become available on semis? Or is that an industry trend? Were you guys out ahead of that?
Yeah, we were ahead of it, and now a lot of the manufacturers are just making them standard.
Okay.
It's smart to do.
What are some of the other big technological changes that you've seen in the industry over the years?
You can talk to the trucks now from here to California. I can look at what the truck is doing, what the driver is doing. It can alert us that a driver might be dozing, driving too fast, idling too much, and our trailers. All of our trailers are refrigerated, so
Mhm.
we can see what temperature is in the trailer. If the reefer unit has an issue, we can turn them off, turn them on. We can reset the temperature from our office here, wherever the equipment's at.
That is amazing.
Mhm.
When you talk about that's not a sarcastic amazing, by the way. That's actually really cool technology. When you talk about being able to communicate in that way, the first thing that came to my mind when it comes to trucks is CB culture. That's not really, is that a thing anymore? That CB culture kind of went away.
It's not like it was back in the 60s and 70s with BJ the Bear and Smokey and the Bandit.
Right.
People, we could get on the CB and you could have good conversations. Today, it's filthy, it's nasty, and it's
Stay
just
away.
a lot of vulgar. And Taylor rode with me years ago, and I remember her getting on the CB and just saying, "Hey, breaker, this is Tater Bug." That's what we called her. And the guys would just talk to her, and they had great conversations. But I wouldn't want one of
Right.
my daughters being on a CB because it's just not right.
All right. We're going to advise people to stay off the CB radio then. That is an unfortunate change in culture in general. Let's talk about workforce in trucking. I know, obviously, not even several years ago, a few years ago, there was a really strong call for people to get their CDC and to be able to go into the industry. Is that still the case now, or are you being able to find people go into the industry?
Yes, it's hard to find people to go into our industry. And think about it, Doug. You go into work, you don't have to worry about $100 fine because you were just showing up to do your job.
Right.
You aren't away from your family, having to deal with all the issues that are out there. Driving, road being shut down. You stop to get diesel fuel because you need it, and the fuel stop that you stopped at doesn't have any. So now you got to wait however long until they get fuel. Food out on the road is not good. Why would anybody want to do that or put themselves through that? And for the biggest, it's got to be for the financial compensation. We have drivers making over 100,000 a year driving for us. It's got to be the money. That's got to be a large part of it. Why you would give up your family and deal with all the hardship that's out here. It's got to be a financial reward.
Well, and I think that's the great thing to hear is that it is not an easy job, but it is one that you can support a family on and support a family well, especially if you stick around in the industry for a while. And I think a job that people can be proud of doing. I mean, I'm not the computer that I'm using to interview you, the computer that you're using to be on this interview. They don't get here by magic. It's because there are people running those trucks. The food isn't getting where we need it to be. It is integral to the success of not just a business, but the backbone of the country.
Sure. Yeah.
There you go. Those aren't just platitudes. I'm always fascinated with how logistics come together and how you guys have to juggle all of that. I guess the last thing to talk about here as we do this first day in the life style segment is, what do customer expectations look like now compared to when you first started in the industry?
Well, when I first started, customers expected you to be on time, not damage their equipment, and be respectful. That's, a lot of that hasn't changed today, but what we're seeing is because there's a shortage of drivers, there's a shortage of quality carriers. The shipping community, receiving community is almost just accepting whatever a trucking company can do, because sometimes they know that they're at risk because there's only so many trucks out there, if that makes any sense to you.
No, it does. It's actually, it's both heartening and disheartening at the same time that they've come to not expect the quality that maybe they want, but at the same time, more understanding of what's happening within your industry and being patient with that. I suppose that's the silver lining to that. Actually, Jeff, I have one last question for you. We joked about Taylor at the beginning of it, but HTI is a family business. That's, I think, unique, but also something we have two of here in the community. You know Sherry Garner quite well, and you have her and Taylor, and then Jenny Fall, who also works with women in trucking. It just kind of struck me that we are very unique in Findlay, that we have so many people associated with women in the trucking industry, which you typically would not see. I know that's not necessarily the goal or anything of what you're doing, but I would imagine you're quite proud to have the family tradition continue on with Taylor there.
Well, I am. And Doug, honestly, I never saw Taylor being here in this leadership role that she's fitting into. She hated the trucking because all of our children were forced to work here when they were growing up to learn morals and values and hard work. And she left Findlay. She didn't want any part of this. And then she wanted to come back here and work. And I told her no. Then she asked me a second time. And I told her no. And then she asked me a third time. And I said, explain to me why, after all these years of hating this, why would you want to put yourself into this? And she said, well, I didn't think I would love it, but I love, one, being with my family, working with my family, being back home in Findlay. And I didn't realize how much I liked trucking, but I want to come back and do it. So my wife, her mom, and I talked about it, and we said, okay, we'll give her a shot, see what she can do. And she's just been a rock star ever since she walked back in the door. So we're very proud and honored to have her here. Again, all of our children have worked here. Our son works here. He helps with the maintenance. And it's nice for me to be able to work with my children and try to teach them what I've learned over all the years. It's nice to have somebody, which most everybody working here, good people. We get along great, but it's nice to have family to maybe pass this on to if they want to take it over.
Well, Jeff, we appreciate it and everything you do in the community, and appreciate you hopping on the podcast with us. If people want to learn more about HTI, maybe they want to learn more about the trucking industry, what are the best ways to do that?
Get a hold of Taylor.
That's her penance for making you do the podcast. Jeff, thank you so much for your time today.
Good to see you, Doug. Thanks for it.